Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I want to thank you for checking this one out. I appreciate the likes and viewings that you've given the previous videos as I have created new content and been migrating from the other channel, the Star Trek centric videos, over here to the Trek Warp. This one, doing this, migrating and setting this up separate channel has allowed me to be able to go back and redo this video that I initially put out, I don't know, over a month ago, I suspect. And it deals with this the concept of star dates. And I have no idea if the writers truly knew what it was that they were building. I've heard I've heard it said star dates were a way of making the future ambiguous so it wasn't locked down. But in time, that that you look at Star Trek, the original series, you look at the Next Generation, they're supposed to be 100 years apart, almost exactly, from the beginning of the original and the beginning of Next Generation. And then you've got the breakdowns with Deep Space Nine and Voyager happening in the 2370s. Yeah. And then you have Enterprise or Star Trek Enterprise being firmly embedded in the middle of the time frame between First Contact and the original series in the mid 22nd century. So their desire, or their use of saying, "Oh, star dates are just to make it unambiguous," or to make it ambiguous, and not lock us into specific dates. I have my doubts, and I'm going to explore that here. There's something called the Great Year. It's a 26,000 year cycle approximately, and that is the sun and its course around the great center of the galaxy. How we on Earth measure that great year is in periods of time known as an age. Back in the 70s, there was that song, this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. I'm going to get back to that in a moment. But if you're not familiar with what it is that is an age, hopefully that will flip the switch in your mind. Now, this relies heavily upon certain ideas. So, sorry for the delay. All right. So, every Star Trek fan knows star dates are weird. You've got in the original series, they go from like in the 1200s to the 7,000s. Then you have the movies that are in the late 7,000s to the 8,000s and beyond. Then in the Next Generation, they're not just four-digit with numbers with a decimal; they're now five-digit numbers with a decimal. And the showrunners and such have been, have stated they went with that style to mark which season they were in initially with the Next Generation. And as the successive seasons or the successive series of Deep Space Nine and Voyager were introduced, it was a little bit more difficult to understand it as far as tracking the seasons. But that was the original plan. But, as I said, star dates are weird. What almost no one knows is the entire franchise timeline. It almost tracks exactly from the ancient times of Moses to Picard. And it's built upon that 26,000 year, what's called the precession of the equinoxes. And you can see that on the screen. You know, we have those monthly cycles, the astrological, symbols and, time frames. But the great year, a period of time, roughly 2,150 years, goes through each one of those houses, is what they're called. So the house of Aries, the house of Taurus, is a 2,150 year time frame approximately. Um, so the celestial sphere with the sun moving backward through the zodiac. So in a normal year, you start off in January with Aquarius, and then it goes to Pisces, then it goes to Aries, and then uh, Taurus, and then Gemini and Cancer. I, I'm I admit I am not 100% on what the signs are. I just have a rough idea. But then going through the precession of the equinoxes, it goes backwards. That 2,150 year period goes from Cancer, then to Gemini, and then to whatever precedes it. What is that? Aries or Taurus, and then eventually, to Pisces, and then to Aquarius. What we're currently in, what's called the Age of Pisces. All right, so we've got the sun moving backward through the zodiac every 2,150 some odd years. The age of Taurus, if you watch Stargate, Teal'c always calls, people of Earth the Tari. It's a play on the age of Taurus. The age of Taurus, if you remember your Sunday school lessons, everybody at the base of Mount Sinai makes the golden calf. There's the Apis bull cults in Egypt, the Hebrew Exodus. They left Egypt, marking the ending of the age of Taurus, the age of Aries, the ram's horn. The Hebrews blowing the ram's horn, Passover lamb, and then of course the age of Pisces. Jesus is the fish symbol, and that's the age we're in at present. Fast forward to Enterprise, and you have the founding of the Federation in 2161, which it puts it right at the beginning of the Age of Aquarius. And I suspect that the writers of Star Trek, especially in the 60s, were very much aware of this. And my reasoning for this comes with Joseph Campbell had the hero's journey. And if you look at theology, mythology, you're going to find that the hero's journey is a template that has been used for the basis of many, if not most or all, of the successful tales that have been kept around for thousands of years, going back even as far as Gilgamesh. Those templates were used in Star Trek, and those templates are based upon astrotheological or constellation mythology. Star Trek isn't just set in the future, it's a roadmap of the exact moment humanity leaves the age of Pisces and steps into the age of Aquarius. Star dates, they're not random. They're always counting down to that transition from one age to the next. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions in the comments. At the very least, leave a flag emoji of where you're writing from in the comments if you don't have anything to add to it. Again, thank you for watching this video and the other videos I've put out there and liking them. Consider doing the subscription thing. Have a great day.